Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. I know it's been a while. I took a break there. I even tried, a couple other games, which, ugh. And I think everyone knows that I don't think Etheria is perfect, but I was keeping an eye on some things, and I told you guys that I was still going to play around, and I haven't really quit. But I was paying attention to some of the stuff that they did with the season 3 coming up. It's a lot of really good stuff, which is cool. I think the thing I'm most excited about is the brawl stuff. Like they're allowing you to synchronize 3 characters that will be fully built, so you can kind of test them. I think that's a great thing because the lattice stuff is, what dictates if a character is good, along with, copies of that character. But they're also giving us a reset event too for 3 characters, so that's a lot of lattices back on characters that might have been good early on, but not really good anymore. But the reason why I wanted to jump on and make a video is because I did see the balance patch, and like when it comes to the characters, there were some of them that were like interesting. Most of them are very minor, which I think is fine. But I did want to talk about them just because I thought it was pretty interesting. So they gave Holden a little bit of a buff on his skill 1, which is okay. He's kind of been falling off a little bit. Lowen was a bit of an issue for him, but they actually nerfed Lowen, which they nerfed 4 characters actually. Since the reset event was coming up, they were able to do it. But I think Lowen got the biggest nerf, to be honest. And then there were some other characters that got minor nerfs. But anyway, so Holden's buff here is pretty good. I still think he's quite good character. And I do think that for season 3, it's really just going to be a lot of bruiser versus either like tank damage dealers or cleave. I really just don't think crowd control is something that they want in their game, and they even show it again kind of in this patch. But anyway, Holden got a little bit of a boost. Mia also got a little bit of a boost. I don't think this matters too much. It was just a little too minor. Kokardi got some nice buffs. His flame strike is going up. Kokardi was already like a pretty decent like last pick in some situations, so this makes him even more scary. So that's kind of cool. And they gave Leon a huge buff, but it doesn't matter because she's really not used anywhere. I will say though that the buffs they gave some buffs to Terramaton. So Terramaton is going to be worth farming now, which is really awesome because for a while it really wasn't. But I do think it's going to be worth farming now. So the fact that Leon is getting this boost, early game players will take advantage of Leon being a decent damage dealer for Terramaton because it's going to do wonders for the rest of their account, which is cool. So that's a really good change for them. So yeah, all around, like that's awesome. Now Shiata got a very interesting one. Shiata was one of the characters that I was going to reset, but this is honestly making me reconsider it. So it says at the start of battle, Shiata immediately gains 1 soul flame stack. So 100% this will be like on her last, like the last skill here for sure. If it isn't, that's awesome. But her soul flames, remember they buffed this not too long ago. Each evolution gives her 18% attack, 30% res, and 10% crit damage. And it also reduces damage taken by 15. So she'll start with that. One of the biggest issues for Shiata was it took too long to kind of ramp her up. So the fact that she starts with this already, it's interesting. I still don't know if it's good enough, but it makes me not want to reset her now. So I'll have to do some soul searching here. They gave Ling Luo some minor boosts as well, healing up like with the percentages a little bit on her skill 3 and skill 2. She was already a pretty solid character, but they did end up nerfing Fu Shou, so I don't know if Ling Luo will get some more play because of that, but we'll see. Tsukiyomi, minor, kind of buff here to increase the silence chance, but again, I really think like any kind of CC stuff just isn't going to be viable. Palin got a buff to her skill 2. No one used it anyway. It was just all skill 3 and skill 1. Salince, in my opinion, was the big winner here. Salince was creeping up in value because she was quite good against Tiamat and Raymary. And this is even more interesting because now the forgetfulness and the crit rate down, which I do think is a little bit overlooked, is now increased to 3 turns instead of 2. And her skill 3 is on a 3-turn cooldown, so you can have that up like all the time. I do think it will get cleansed, but still, it's interesting. I think she was the big winner for sure, because she was already a good unit, and this just made her just even better. So they did boost Navette. They gave her a really cool effect where it says, when attacking bosses, the bosses are always treated as controlled. So Navette already did pretty solid damage against Chloros, the newer dungeon for shells, on this skill 2, right? It was a pretty hard-hitting skill. Now, she already ignored a decent amount of damage, but it says if the target is already controlled, she ignores more damage. So the way that that's kind of worded in there is interesting because here she was already ignoring this, like this amount, or at least it seemed that way. So I guess the wording might have been off. Or they just do that so you can use Sword 7 on her as the shield, as the shell. So if that's the case, you're just getting a 50% damage boost on top of the ignoring defense. So this could be interesting. However, like I just don't think Navette's going to be like a PvE option when you're comparing her to like the new unit that they showcased that I didn't really talk about because I haven't been making videos on the game. And then also like you're going up against Rosa. So it's cool, but at the same time, I don't think it matters too much. Now, the other things are also good, just increased her damage and increased the chances of Petrify. But again, like the CC stuff, I don't think it's really going to be there. You're going to have to respect it because you could always late pick something like in your 5th slot if they just bring a bunch of amber, they don't bring any kind of cleanse, and they're just like full tank down. It certainly is a possibility to sneak in a CC character in there. And Navette could be one of the better ones now because they ended up nerfing Freeze. I don't know why. Like, it was the only thing that CC kind of had going for it, but again, I just don't think they really like CC in this game, which is fine. But the fact that Navette has crowd control, damage, and block, which I think is one of the best debuffs in the game, she could be, kind of the go-to CC character now. And they also increased her speed, which is kind of cool. They increased Rahu's chance of following up by 60%, by 10% to 60%. So that's kind of nice. He was already pretty good. He was falling off a little bit as well, just because he wasn't very great against Cleave. And Cleave made a little bit of a comeback there towards the end of Season 2. But still, pretty nice. That's also good for PvE too. Rahu's pretty good in PvE. This one, I do not understand. Doki was already really good. And then they increased her base speed by 5 points. So the speed set, like, she's going to be cooking, man. There's not going to be a whole lot of opportunities to outspeed her, or at least, like, focus her down, because you might get 1 or 2 attacks off on her. But that speed is pretty interesting. They also buffed Messiah. Like, in what world did you ever think that they would end up buffing Messiah? But they did. Um, they also had some minor buffs to Yelly. I don't think Yelly's good. Yelly is certainly one of the characters that I am going to be resetting. This is okay for like PvE, but there's tons of better options than Yelly in that spot. So I'm going to be getting back 11 lattices. And then these are the nerfs. So they nerfed Ray Mary. Now it is minor, but that's good. I don't even know why this says this. Like, do you really need to have additional damage on this character? The fact that this procs so easily and the interactions that it has with like Amber, and if she's frozen and as soon as she snaps out, like as soon as somebody just like sneezes on someone, she activates this. I don't know why that is the way it is, but at least they decrease the damage. They also decrease the pushback of Freya. This is very minor. A lot of times you're using her to just outspeed with her Dreamweave stuff, and this is on the reducing turn meter, not the turn meter boosting. So yeah, this is very minor. I don't think it's really anything for Freya, but still, it is technically a nerf. Now, Fu Shou, this one's going to be interesting to look for. Because her and Sonya were the best healers before Fiamelia came out. And with this nerf, I still think Fu Shou is going to be good because it is a tweak down, but still her interaction with Supernova whenever she's in the Moonlit Veil is quite good. So I still think she's going to be extremely playable, but she did need a little bit of her. She was quite strong once that thing got off. It was like she was almost unkillable. But I guess there was only there's 4 nerfs. Freya, Ray, Mary, Fu Shou, and then Lowen. Now this is the biggest one, I think. But I also believe that this was needed. This skill was way too good. So yeah, this was her exaltation. Whoops. Basically, whenever she killed somebody with exaltation, she reset that skill 3, which was pretty nuts. She flies under the radar just because Raymare and Fiamelia are so good, but like resetting the cooldown of this skill 3 that hits hard, they took that away. This is still on a 3-turn cooldown, so this character is still super good, but for sure, Lowen was the biggest nerf. Now, these are some cool buffs. Minor shell buffs, but they buffed modules. Like, I couldn't believe that. I thought this was amazing. So Lighthouse gets an even bigger turn meter boost. This is big. I think there's going to be a lot of cutting in regards to Cleave and the Bruiser kind of matchup because of this. The 25%, you could still get a lot done, especially with Turandot. But this going up to 35%, I think you're going to see a lot of healers or shielders be able to jump in front of the second kind of like follow-up for Cleave. So I didn't really think that this was needed, but I do think Lighthouse is quite good. And then Ouroboros did have a nice buff on the speed stacks. I think this is more so for like Nether Query. This is a pretty good shell that again kind of flies under the radar. But it's just because it's more so a PvE shell, I think. Now, this is where I thought they won big in this patch. So they buffed Onslaught, like the life gain steal. This is really big for early players. It really is. Like a lot of those dungeons hit very hard and you're limited to maybe like 1 healer. So this could be pretty impactful. On top of that, I think this is a very cool module now. As I really did not like Count. I thought Count was a bad shell. because you couldn't play Harvest on it. So now you have the ability to have Onslaught and Harvest on like a 12-8 piece with Fury Edge or like Swift Raid on characters that do not crit. And that was something interesting that I thought could play out, with like a Born or even with a Navette, where you get a little bit more out of the Onslaught ability while also being able to apply in Harvest. And Harvest also got a boost. This one, like, people should 100% farm Terramaton now. Wellspring, they tacked on reduced damage taken by an additional 25%. Like, even this piece is really good because, I mean, I think it's quite obvious. These turn 2 teams are certainly going to be running Bloodbath and an 8-piece Wellspring set. And they also increased Evil Guard as well. Like, they buffed Evil Guard. So, like, healing effects like on Fiamelia or Fouchot or Sonya, like, they're going to be pretty darn tanky. It's pretty nuts. But from a positive perspective, this is going to be great for early players as well. Just making progression a little bit easier. I think Unbreakable got the short end of the stick. However, if you do a 12-piece set, which no one's going to do, even an 8-piece, it's pretty nice because it does play into Artisan. Like, it'll give you a bigger shield with Artisan, which is nice. And I wouldn't be surprised if they start releasing more shielders as well. I think buffs are going to be pretty important in Season 3, just because, debuffs and CC are pretty easily countered nowadays. But yeah, Battle Wills, whatever. Harvest ignores 40% of someone's defense. That's very good. I always thought that they should just remove this HP above thing, just because Bloodbath is so strong. But this could make a difference. I mean, 10% additional defense ignore, that's a big deal. I didn't think they would ever do that, but it's pretty cool. Sadly, they didn't put Harvest on more of the attack shells. But the nice thing with Season 3 is we do get a new shell dungeon too. So who knows what those shells will do, especially for the damage dealers. Hopefully it has Harvest on it as a matrix. Cure increases healing and shield, like it's whatever. Evil Guard right here, healing and shield provided plus 12%. Effect res now gets changed to 10 speed. This is cool. I really like this. This makes, like, I think Sonya. I think Sonya will want to run this. I do. Gigabyte, which she's already run on, does have Evil Guard on there. And to get an additional 10 speed out of her, I think is pretty cool. She doesn't really have any shielding. But to increase her healing, like, I think Sonya is just going to be a menace. I really do. And then they increase the res of Colossal Guard to 30%. And then the last thing that we certainly need to talk about is the freeze debuff. This was truly the only reason why CC I thought was viable. You had Mio and you had Nahor as your 2 options to be a viable freeze component. And now, instead of not being able to get turn meter, they've reduced your turn meter boosting by 50%. So you're going to be able to snap out of that a lot easier, especially if you have any kind of turn meter. But like Mizuzumi Aya ended up falling off a little bit because her big like turn meter boost wouldn't do anything if people were frozen. So if she snapped out of the heal or if she resisted, it didn't matter if the rest of your team ended up being, frozen. So now, like, she gets way better, right? So they'll still get a 20% turn meter boost, snap them out of the freeze a little bit easier. Like the Nahor and the Mio can do their skill again if they're on Codex, but still, like, if your characters are in Strive or anything like that, you know, they're still going to be getting a 5% turn meter boost. They're going to be able to move. And that doesn't take away the fact that, remember, they increased Doki's speed. So when Doki pushes people with her turn meter push ability, like, yeah, it won't be 12%, but it's still 6%. So they still might be able to cut in front, remove the debuffs. That's why I just think that CC, like, they're doing everything they possibly can to have people not play that kind of strategy, which is fine. It's been very apparent that you just need to be able to flex in and out, which was one of the reasons why I struggled so much. I was so frustrated with this season is I didn't have the ability to go into like Tiamat or a Fusho or anything of that nature because I just didn't have them built. I didn't have the lattices. I put them in the wrong place. But now I have the ability to start spending lattices in those areas because of the resets. They're also giving out a lot of rewards, so I might start making content on this again just because it's piqued my interest. And again, the brawl kind of game mode, super cool. I'm so excited about that because I do love RTA. It is so much fun. And the fact that they give you all of these different abilities now to build up characters and test them, I just think that was genius. So I'm looking forward to season 3. So I know a lot of people were probably really happy that I stopped playing the game. So I'm sorry. I am still kind of playing. And as long as it intrigues me, if I stay in a good mood, hopefully I'll make some content again. But as soon as we start getting sour, we'll turn it off again. All right. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one. See ya.